Hey guys, welcome to our first debate podcast. I'm Ruben.
And I'm Alfred, and this is an introductory video for our podcast series in our newly launched website, Priori.com. That's Priori.com.
Okay, actually it's Priori.com, it's just spelled a bit differently.
Okay, whatever. So check out the link in the description below, click right here. Right, so let's get straight to the point and why we're doing this, why we think this will be valuable for you. I think it's a bit depressing actually, because we're gonna tell a sob story, right? So the sob story, way to get started. Our debate journey, Ruben and I, is a bit different from most students we know today. Like, you guys are privileged, your schools have tens of thousands of dollars to hire superstar coaches to sit around while you prep for an hour and they do absolutely nothing, pocketing $70, $80, $100 an hour. Right? Right, so our debate journey is a bit different from most people. We came from nothing. We were like down the dumps, gutter, we do the submarine, slowly surfacing to the top. And it was a long and hard journey to get to where we are today, when we are like regularly doing well in tournaments. Just talk a bit about myself, because I like doing that, so does Ruben. I started debating in JC, junior college. I came from the top elite school in Singapore, Hwa Chong Institution. It's much better than Raffles. Take that, Raffles. I didn't make the team, unfortunately, because I started late, and Hwa Chong attracted all these debate superstars, debate team captains who started debating when they were 13. And the school, for some weird reason, didn't have budget to hire a coach, even though Hwa Chong was a rich school, because the teacher in charge wanted to funnel all the money into drama instead. And so I didn't make the team, I didn't have a coach, I had to learn through trial and error, watching debate videos, watching other people debate and try to learn from them. And it was a long and arduous journey, but I think I picked up many valuable lessons along the way that I think many other debaters may never have the opportunity to experience because they've always been handheld through their debate career.
My story is kind of similar. So I started debating, not in an elite school, but in a neighborhood school when I was 16. Then I moved on to poly. My first year of poly didn't have a coach. Second year onwards, I had someone you may or may not know, Ashok.
It's so old.
Who isn't the most hands-on coach in the world, right?
You know him if you debated in 2000.
Yeah, so he's very old. So am I. So are we. So anyway, a lot of the things that I had to learn were kind of through trial and error, through reverse engineering his speeches and the way he would present cases.
I remember I saw this video online of you debating for Ngee Poly, and I was like, this is mini Ashok. It's more Indian than Ashok.
Why more? Okay, sure, because I was darker. Okay.
Yeah, Ashok is better looking.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, so how I learned was just by copying him wholesale. While he would give me tips and things like that, it wasn't really through structured training. In fact, a lot of the biggest lessons I learned as a debater were through random conversations I had with either him outside of training or with other debaters like Alfred, experienced debaters like Imran and the in the circuit. So it was those sort of conversations that allowed me to just think for myself and develop through that whole process of trial and error, trying new things out and then seeing what worked and what didn't. So that was a very painful process for me, but eventually I ended up working as a whole, right?
So I think that's very, very important, right? Because there are a lot of concern by a lot of students who always come up to us and tell us that they feel like they cannot compete, either because they started late or because they didn't speak good English, or because they feel like the field has become a bit what gamers would call pay to win, P2W, right? So they'll complain to us that they don't know what to do to improve. They feel like the gap is so massive where other debaters can spend thousands of dollars hiring superstar coaches. They can spend lots of money going for tournaments, going overseas, even going for overseas week-long workshops, which may cost you thousands of dollars. And to be honest, while all these things are probably useful, because they also hire us, right, pay us good money to be there, to give those lectures. Thanks, ADI. Shout out to you guys out there. But the truth is, it's not absolutely necessary. right? Ruben and I never spent a single cent
Yeah.
on coaching resources. We had to figure out it all on our own. And there are some valuable lessons to be had figuring out on your own that we would like to share with the rest of you.
I mean, I think it's funny that you talk about all these like privileged students, they have so much resources and the like. And even for those students, you on some level you feel as though you may struggle because maybe coaching is either problematic or there are a lot of students within your club that you're competing for attention. You may not even get a spot on the team like you. So the idea behind this podcast and the website and the articles that we'll be publishing is essentially to cater to both you guys as well as people without any resources, people like debaters who are really struggling, trying to break through certain plateaus and the like. So we will publish both things like basic skill guides. We'll talk about, like, for example, we'll have an entire video on like how to do PM or how to do POIs and things like that. But on top of that, we will do like other non-technical aspects of debating. Things like how do you approach debating as a sport? What sort of elements of sports psychology can you carry over to debating? How do you develop a mental edge over your opponents? How do you ensure that you have a strong competitive drive?
Yeah, all that is in like my article that's coming out soon.
Okay, thank you, Alfred. I know some of these things too. So it's not just Alfred that's the expert on this end. Anyway, so as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. You don't need a coach, or even a coach may not necessarily teach you these things, especially within a structured environment. What you can do is you can actually work on these things on your own, and our role here is to empower you to be able to do it, right? So to give you little tips, little nuggets that you can listen to and then think, that's maybe something I can develop and add to my game at the end of the day. So it's
Ruben. So if it's that easy, why don't you think this resource exists right now? Why are we doing it different?
So either coaches don't feel that this is important enough to teach within the school context, or even clubs and societies somehow don't discuss it. There's a perception among some debaters that this isn't important, that either it's inherent, you have it, that you want to do well, you want to succeed, or you don't, right? And if you don't, you're just resigned to be at the bottom of the totem pole, to just lose debates, to just perform like a mediocre debater.
I have a different theory. So I think despite the fact that debates has been around for like maybe a few decades,
okay,
it's never really developed into something that's really accessible. And I think that's probably just given how much debating styles have changed over the past few years, right? It's rapidly changing and evolving. Suggests that no one has really mastered how to the one way to debate, or what's the best way to coach. There aren't really resources online that deal with. So you know, like when for example when soccer moved from like an amateur sport to a professional sport, you started to bring in ideas like sports science, dieting, where in the past these soccer athletes were like eat French fries and drink Coke, and like they weren't really able to fine tune these things and really get the theory behind it. And that's probably the same with like poker 10 years ago. So as the sport is evolving and growing, I think we're constantly finding new edges and new theories and new ideas. And I think there hasn't really been a platform where people wanted to share this, because like these are things that are our money making bread and butter things, right? So like nobody really wants to share their edge with the rest of the community. I think that's really upsetting, because that means that as a community we're not really growing. And I think insofar as like Ruben and I have learned and benefited so much from the community, it's important for us to give back and really share these resources out there.
So we've learned based on, or rather we've learned important lessons from other experienced debaters, like having, as I mentioned earlier, having conversations and the like. Like for example, with my old coach Ashok, one of the important like groundbreaking moments for me was when we had a conversation about my speaker scores and why they would generally be terrible, or rather I would do well in the tournament. Okay, fine. We would do well in the tournament, but I wouldn't necessarily get top 10 or rank very highly.
Yeah, because you're getting your ass carried.
And that was what Ashok kind of pointed out to me, right? So he asked me a very simple question. How often do you give a saving speech? And I was like, what is a saving speech? I had no idea what that meant. And he said, through the course of like a tournament where you debate 5 rounds, for example, how many of those rounds did you win single-handedly with your speech? And that was just a radical new way of thinking to me, because I always, at the back of my mind, had the safety net of my teammates helping me if I were to ever mess things up, right? So I never desperately wanted to win the debate within my speech. And the moment I started doing that was when I noticed a huge uptick in my speaker scores on average. And that's when I could rank and good things started happening.
Yeah, you can really track Ruben's growth. If you look at his videos from long ago and now, you'll notice that in the past his reply speeches would feature his teammates, and now he will just be like, in PM, I told you all these things that opponents never dealt with. My second and third speakers just came up to make a fool of themselves. I was great.
Maybe it's true, sometimes I win debates single-handedly,
Yes.
so I do need to give myself credit.
Whatever. Anyway, so I myself also had a lot of benefactors that really helped me along. So you remember the time we were in Penang?
Yeah.
After debating in Malaysia,
Yes,
we
yes.
went out Penang with the great, legendary Imran Rahim, right? Also another old guy. So at that point in time, I was in the middle of my debate career, and I felt like, even though I was doing a lot of hard work, spending all my time reading articles, watching debate videos, but I felt that I hit a plateau, and I just couldn't break through that barrier.
Yeah, I remember.
So I spoke to Imran. I remember I was quite bad then actually. Yeah, so I was talking to Imran, and I was like, "No, Imran, can you give me some advice about what to do?" And Imran was like, "Oh, that's very easy. Do you have a bank account?" And I was like, "Shit, what Imran wants my money instead." Nice blooper, right? So I was like, "Yes, I have a bank account." And then Imran is like, "Can you tell me how you set up the bank account?" And then I was like, I went to the bank and I asked them to set up an account." And then he started shaking his head. He's like, I was like, "What did I do wrong? What's wrong?" And then Imran was like, "This is why you fail as a debater." And I'm like, "What? What's it got to do with my debating?
Yeah.
How I set up my bank account?" And then he's like, "As a debater, you must be able to describe things vividly in a concise and yet comprehensive way, such that the judge and the audience knows exactly what you're trying to say." And so I lost some sleep over it. I thought about it for a long time, and I realized that what he meant was that whenever I describe something, I have to plant a moving image of what I'm saying directly into the back of the judge's mind. So today, if I want to explain all over again, I would say, set up a bank account, I go to the bank branch. Once you open the glass door, you get greeted by a customer service provider who asks you "Hi sir, how may I help you?" You tell that person, "I'll set up a bank account."
Yeah.
The person presses that button on the telephone thing, they'll print out a ticket,
Right.
a queue number. You wait for that queue number to be called on the television screen, on LCD screen provided by Samsung. When your number is called, you go up to the counter, and the service provider then asks you, "Sir, you want to set up a bank account, you need to provide us with your personal history records, do you have any debts, you fill out this form." And I think a lot of debaters take this for granted, right? That it's just setting up a bank account, right? But there's all these little steps along the way that you really need to describe, especially in debates, where the judge will not give you credit unless you have that vivid description. And I think immediately after I started applying it, I saw rapid improvement because it just changed the way I debated altogether. All that happened within a short 5-minute conversation with a senior debater. And that's the sort of things that we want to provide you guys.
Okay, so enough of the grandfather stories. Hopefully, you will have those sort of moments as you watch our debate videos or our podcasts and read our articles, and you'll be able to learn from that. More importantly, I think for the next week, so we'll be traveling to UADC, the Asian Championships in Cambodia. So there will be specific UADC themed content that we'll be releasing very shortly. So please do look out for that. Then we'll be returning to our regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, so we've now are reaching the end of this introductory podcast, but we have a surprise lined up for you. We are doing a giveaway to commemorate our very, very first podcast. So what we're giving away is very, very valuable. We're giving away 1 hour of our time. What you guys can stand to win is a 1 hour Skype call with us to have a conversation about debating. We can give you free coaching, live advice, though we're probably not subject matter experts on that. It's worth a lot, right? So I'm doing a currently doing a workshop for debaters in China. They're paying like 100 US. They're paying me 100 USD an hour, right? So between the two of us, it's like 200 USD.
Or more. I'm worth a lot more.
Okay, so to win this giveaway, all you have to do is to like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave a comment of our video with hashtag July Coaching. What's this hashtag so weird?
I don't know. We needed a hashtag so we know that you are commenting it for the purpose of the giveaway.
Awfully uncreative.
I'm sorry, you come up with the next hashtag for the next giveaway, okay?
Yeah, the next giveaway with a better hashtag.
Okay, so that's
August Coaching.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have more giveaways in the future. That's it for our first video. So remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, check back to our website because there will be more articles being posted over the coming weeks. And that's it for today. Bye.
I'm leaving on a jet plane, don't know.
Okay, please record, please.